This is the Success in Accounting podcast and going out on YouTube as well. We're part of the Accounting Influencers Broadcast Network, broadcasting to 150 countries and thousands of accounting professionals all over the world. And we are continuing with our series of women leaders in accounting, where we choose from the ecosystem of the accounting world, prominent and influential women leaders from all over, serving different roles and different audiences, to talk about diversity, women in the profession, and all things around leadership. I'm thrilled to have with me today 4 superb guests. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves in just a moment and say hello, so you know who you are watching and listening to, and then we'll get right into it. So, Emily, can I start with you? A little introduction from you so our fellow panelists know who you are and also our audience.
Absolutely. So my name is Emily Ackerman. I'm the Director of Business Development for Lane Gorman Trubitt. We are a full service accounting firm in Dallas, Texas, and one of the largest ones that has not been acquired by one of the big ones. And so I connect strangers that need to meet all day, and I know enough accounting to be dangerous, but you do not want me doing your tax return. That would not be fun for anybody. But I connect everyone that needs to meet. I'm happy to go into my firm a little bit later for more panelists to have the floor.
Thank you. It's great to have you with us. Janet, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, nice to be here. Thanks, Rob. I'm Janet Jack. I'm the CEO of the Institute of Accountants and Bookkeepers. Basically, we're an awarding and membership body. So we write the qualifications for accountants. We're just developing new ones up to a degree level that we are taking worldwide, launching in India later on. Well, actually next month when I go out there. So that's all exciting. And that's us. We're based in Kent. We have offices in London, but basically our members are worldwide and our students are worldwide.
And it's lovely to have representation from professional bodies, institutes. We've had the ACCA on so far and the ICAEW, which some of you may recognize. And we've got someone from the ICPA coming up. So Debbie, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity and to meet everybody here. My name is Debbie Zoller. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Shellman. Shellman is a CPA firm, but a cybersecurity firm mostly, as we are one of the unique firms that doesn't do any traditional accounting or tax services. We focus solely on cybersecurity. So we do things like penetration testing, PCI assessments, SOC reports. We do all kinds of certifications, audit assessments across many different industries, covered most of the industries actually, and clients of all sizes. So all from small organizations to very large organizations. We are US based, but we do operate all throughout the globe. So we've been to over 30 countries just performing services for our clients.
Thank you, Debbie. And we've had Ivani Desai on our show before. One of your colleagues, as you know, Ivani, she was a very outspoken guest on our podcast. That's great. Donna, welcome. Lovely to have you with us.
Thanks so much. So my name is Donna Herbs. I'm a connector, a relationship builder, a strategist, a community partner, and I'm a partner in strategic growth. And I'm very proud to say that I'm Anders CPAs and Advisors' first non-CPA partner. So as an independent firm, that's a really big deal. I was the CMO and the marketing director for about 18 years and had the opportunity to work on leadership teams. And in January, I became a partner in this new field called strategic growth. Where we're looking at all of the things that make up a firm to go forward. So, and that includes even what are CPAs doing that other people could be doing. So we're working on synergies, building a scalable sales organization. Some of my favorite parts of my current and past positions are the impact that I get to have in the community and working on women's initiatives. Anders CPAs and Advisors is a firm in St. Louis, Missouri, but we have remote workers all over the country that we total about 370 as of yesterday, I think. When I started the firm, we were 70 people and $8.6 million. We'll end the firm at about $68 million, number 89 on the top accounting firms list, a best of the best. And we were recently named one of St. Louis's top privately held companies. So lots of exciting news. We too will remain an independent firm, and just exciting to be in accounting at this stage of the game.
You said a bit of that before, Donna, haven't you? That was very slick, and you delivered it very.
My elevator speech, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's wonderful to have you all on. Let's kick off, and I'll start with you, Janet, if I may, on this one. Let's just set the scene here with a little bit of context. Yes, we're all you're female leaders in accounting and fintech, and all of you are setting good examples. But why is diversity important in the world these days? Why are we talking about things like diversity, equity, inclusion that we weren't 10, 20 years ago?
I think it's important to have diversity within your workforce and within your team. For me, I listened to sort of like one of the podcast links you sent through to me, and listening to some of the ladies on there, I think we all feel the same. I think we're quite driven in what we do, hence why we're all in the positions that we are. But I personally, I've never. Yes, I've had sexist comments when I was younger. Get to that age now, it doesn't really matter. But when you're young, I think it's quite hard sometimes when it's in a male environment. But I've found actually the accountancy profession, especially in the UK here in a minute, seems to be a lot better. There's still one or two, shall we say, old pale and stale around in the top of some organisations. But it's drifting, and I think it's an age thing. And I'm finding that the younger men that are coming up in the industry are very much in equality. But I think it's really good to have a balance. I think you need to have a balance. I'm actually now find it quite difficult to actually get men on my board because it's all women. So I don't know that we've scared them or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. It is important. Emily, let's go to you. Probably safe to say that you're the youngest person here out of all of us. So going to the other end of the scale, I guess we are in a more woke world now. We're more sensitive and accepting. So is prejudice a thing of the past? Are we getting it all right now? Why are we talking about this?
I think that it's something that continues to need to be at the forefront of discussion. That I think one thing that actually drew me to want to move over to my firm, which is Lane Gorman Trubitt, is they've been really leading the charge with diversity and inclusion since day one. So the firm's been around since 1950, and I'm talking back in the day. We were one of the first firms in the country to have a female managing partner. Our current managing partner is female. Our partner in charge of audit is female. Partner in charge of manufacturing and distribution is female. Our partner group is 50-50, men and women alike. Look around the room, and this is where we're getting a little controversial. I don't just see white men that are old. You see everything. You see color, you see all different types of religions. One thing that I think was really fun that we do is we have a whole diversity day, and where it could be as simple as you just bring food from the country where you're from, or it could be as simple as you dress up in your native garb, whatever that may be. I think our firm really does celebrate the differences of opinion, and that we all bring something new and unique to the table. I would say that the profession as a whole is still fairly woke. Not woke. It's getting more and more open. I relate it to a couple years ago at my past firm. I knew that the industry was changing when I saw my partner in charge interviewing someone with a neck tattoo. That would have never happened back in the day. And I think one thing that keeps us current with the times is that we just do succession planning really well. I don't know about you guys, ladies, but we have a mandatory retiring age for partners at 65. And that really does get that old generation out and gives the new guys and gals a chance to lead and really tread forward. I also think that we work in an environment that no one's scared to talk about differences of ideas and bring new things into the fold. Living in Texas, of all states, where we just keep getting in the news in not a great way. I think that we as a firm are a really modern example, and that's why we haven't needed to get acquired, and we've stood independent and keep growing and growing, because our firm just doesn't look like the rest in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think that, even my department in practice growth, I joke and that we sound like a funny joke where it's like you got two millennials, a Jewish person, a veteran, and a gay man walk into a bar. That right there is the definition of diversity and inclusion. And if it was just, no offense, Christian old white men leading my practice growth team, I don't think we would be growing. It's what old white men want to read and listen to. And I want to hear about about what you guys have been doing with your firms, because I think we've been doing stuff well and leading by example for a long time, but I always want to hear new ideas.
Yeah, we'll speak more into what's practically working, but Donna, I think Emily's just thrown a grenade in the room there and walked out. There's such a lot in there, and the world's changing, isn't it?
The world is changing. And I think, from my standpoint as strategic growth, we have to have people that look like our clients, right? Our clients want that. And I think that can be a diversity of age, a diversity of race, that can be a diversity of thought, right? It's kind of in my role, it's kind of like one giant match.com, right? You have to have the right people, and you have to, how does that look? So, being in the middle of the United States, it is still, the accounting profession is still pretty white. But we are starting to look at different things. I think that everybody has to realize, and I just had a long discussion yesterday with the dean of the business school at St. Louis University, who's a Black woman. And I think that we have to be open to new things. We found out at Anders that the historically Black college here, where we were getting some of our interns, they were telling us that one of their favorite parts of interning was that they got to learn about how to take a CPA prep course. And so we said, well, why didn't you do that at your university? And they said, well, they don't come there. And I thought, oh, that can't possibly be correct, right? No, it was correct. Well, they go there now. I think that we are looking at things like, why are people of color not going into the CPA profession? Well, when you have deep discussions, it's because scholarships are for 4 years and it takes 5 years to be a CPA, and there's not that money for that last year. Mm-hmm. So, these are first world problems that can be easily helped by state societies and individual firms. And I think you're seeing the big four do that. It's not as prevalent in independent firms, but we have a woman leading technology as the CIO. We have 8 female partners, which when I, up until 2013, we had 0, if you think about it. So we have a person, the C-suite is head up in HR, also in marketing. So you're starting to see people come in, that have diversity. And I think that that's critical. We even talk about it where we'll put men and women on teams just because you think of things differently, or people of that have diverse backgrounds. So I think that there's a long way to go in the accounting profession. I think we've just scratched the surface. And I think everybody's making an effort, just particularly in recruiting efforts. And I was laughing a little bit at Emily because one of our new interns that's coming in has pink hair, and that would have never ever happened even a couple of years ago. So I think there's just much more openness than there has ever been in the accounting profession.
Well, Debbie, I don't know what's going on, but you women will be wanting the vote next, and you'll be wanting to play golf and soccer and everything else. The world's just going crazy. But wonderful examples here. What does diversity mean for you, and why are we talking about it?
Yeah, I think, very similar sentiments as these ladies have mentioned. And, obviously we're in the accounting industry, but we're also in the technology industry because we do focus a lot on cybersecurity. And that's been a very male dominant industry. I've been going to conferences for years. I've been doing this for 22 years. And you're starting to see more and more females at technology conferences. We always kind of joke about, the women's restroom and a line being very short, typically in the past, where now it's growing. And I'd like to see more women at these conferences. I mean, it's really great. I think we're making some headway there, but I think we're not there yet, right? We're still having these conversations because I don't think that firms have been really intentional about it. And, our firm, for one, I mean, I'm incredibly proud of where Shellman has grown and what we've been doing. We're not quite there yet with diversity, but we've never shied away from it. We've always been very inclusive. I was the first female partner for our firm. So, I mean, I'm very proud of that. I mean, I've always been supported by everybody around me. But I think that, we've taken a step back and said, while we're doing a great job, we're not there yet, right? We're not being intentional, and we can't really expect, that from others if we're not doing it ourselves. So we need to put together a formal program. We need to hire people that can, put in this formal program and really look at it from all different aspects, because it's not just who we hire, but it's also our suppliers, right? We have to make sure our suppliers have diversity, and we have to make sure that our executive team and et cetera, and our board and everybody, there's diversity around. Because really, I'm actually at a women's conference this week, and it's a conference on privacy, security, risk, and there's 670 women at this conference, which is amazing, and it's huge. And what someone mentioned the other day, that diversity also removes intimidation. When you have one woman sitting at a table with all men, they're not going to be as eager to speak up and to say what they, to have their voice heard. And so we need to remove that intimidation. So that's part of it. But the other part of it is having that different thought and that different background, right? We can grow more as a firm, and any organization can grow more as a firm if you have more diverse backgrounds that have different experiences to bring to the table. And so we not only want inclusivity, but we also want to make sure those voices are heard.
Yeah, so many great points coming out here. I'd like to focus on your own careers, ladies, and the path that you've taken. I've interviewed a lot of minority people. We had Herschel Frierson on the show recently. He's head of the National Association of Black Accountants, and he works as a partner at Crow, a firm that you will know. And Avani Tisani, your colleague, Debbie, we've had on the show as well. And the message has been, I didn't see people like me in the profession as I came through the ranks. So Donna, let's start with you on this one. Talk to us a little bit about your career path and any pivotal moments that shaped who you are.
So I started my career in marketing, and I have always worked for professional services firms. So for real estate, for engineering firms, and made the move to accounting 20 years ago. I was a single mom, and so finding a profession where I could raise my two children in the fashion that I wanted to do that was important to me. So I was driven to do that. But I will tell you, there was a pivotal moment in my early career where I worked for a woman who all of a sudden, all of my ideas became hers. And it was at that moment that I decided that if I was ever in a position of leadership, that I was going to be exactly the opposite, because that was so demeaning. And, I grew up in a time where I think women fell in two buckets, right? They were either, they had scrapped so hard to get to where they are that they didn't want to let anyone else in, or they were, trying to raise everyone up. And I think that when you reach a position like I'm in now, we all have to remember that we have to turn around on that ladder, and we have to give a hand up to the women who are still behind us. So in my whole career, that's been kind of my personal roadmap. And I didn't know until last year that there's really a term for that, and that's called co-elevation. And there's been a book written, Leading Without Authority, and the author's name is Keith Ferrazzi. And I thought, I never knew what that name was that I was doing, but it's co-elevation. And it is about making sure that you're turning around and that you're giving other people opportunities. So I also think that women sometimes self-select out, and we have to stop doing that. A guy will say, yes, I know how to do that, even if they have no idea. And we feel like we need to have a PhD in order to say yes. And so, I've just said yes and figured it out along the way, and made sure that I'm doing a good job mentoring other women, so that and then when they say, what can I do for you? And I just said, pay it forward. So someday when you're in my office, now you have to turn around too.
Yeah, well, save the career tips because they're coming up towards the end, but that's great. And when you talked about the woman that wouldn't let you in, as it were, there's a concept of an anti-role model. I'm on the record that my father was an alcoholic, and I'm teetotal, so I don't drink. And he made me the father I am by just ignoring everything he did. I wanted to be the father and the man that he wasn't. So that takes you the other way. Janet, talk to us a bit about your career path.
Oh, very wavy path. Very wavy path. Nothing to do with accounting when I first started. I couldn't wait to leave school and get out there and see the world and do things. And I ended up working in casinos all around the world. So obviously money involved, you have to do, you end up doing a profit and loss at the end of your table every night. I didn't realize I was actually doing accountancy work at the time. I was too busy enjoying myself. And then I had a couple of my own businesses, which I did the accounting for up to a certain point. And I had a very nice accountant who actually says, I don't know why you pay me to do this. You can easily do this on your own. I was going, no, I need somebody to check it. Because I don't think this was, I didn't think for 1 minute that would enter me into this career. So eventually I started my own practice, had my own practice. I became a board member of the IAB many years ago. And when the CEO was leaving, they asked me, would I step up and be the CEO of the organisation? So that's where I came in. Few obstacles at the beginning when I did that. There was a few gentlemen who didn't like that idea too much, and also I highlighted all the problems that I found.
Oh, that will make you popular.
Yeah, I went down a stall. Just before that, I was actually the finance director for a small, well, it's called the Federation of Small Businesses. I was the finance director there, and that was a difficult time. It was very male orientated in there. It was kind of came up like a bit like almost like a trade union. So they were very stand firm. So when we wanted to make change and make it modern and diverse, obviously when you're the first people to come around and say that, not always a popular vote. But in the end, it has turned around, and you can go on social media now, and they are very diverse, and they have made a lot of big changes. And that also helped me with the IAB and changing that round. And I think the fact that I traveled such a lot and that I'd worked in many countries, dealing with our overseas members and putting our qualifications in there, I can see it from a ground level. You know, you've got people who have got absolutely nothing, and then you go other places where, you know, they're willing to pay thousands of pounds for a qualification, and it, you know, money's not an object. To bring that leveling up, to make it available to all and have that more diversity so that everybody can be included and everyone's got a chance. I think we have to start at the bottom and start realizing, you know, how you can bring people up. And I'm a bit like Donna. My leadership is encouraging others behind me, because I'm not going to be there forever. You know, there's other young people need to come in, and we need to support them through. So I'm always looking about how I can help them. How can they get on? And even when I meet people at conferences and things, somebody will ask me a question, I go, I know somebody who can help you with that.
Exactly. We'll talk about leadership style in just a moment. Debbie, let's talk about your career. Has it been a rocket to the top, or has it been a bit wavy like Janet's?
Probably less wavy, but certainly has been some pivotal moments. So I started out as a CPA, so I have, you know, the CPA accounting background, but I've always been interested in technology. So I started off doing IT audit out of college, and really just kind of, you know, growing in the IT space and kind of just doing, I call IT audit kind of high level, you know, technology area. But I would say that, you know, a pivotal moment, and this kind of will speak a little bit to, you know, some tips and career tips and things like that, and similar to what Donna had mentioned. But we were basically doing one service, our firm, a very long time ago. We wanted to start branching out to do a different type of service, which is called a PCI assessment, payment card industry, much more technical than what I was used to. It really was something very different, but we needed someone to start the practice and to get the methodology and to essentially start doing these assessments. So I raised my hand and said, okay, I'll take it on. And I just kind of figured it out, right? I don't have that deep technology background, but I did a lot of Google searches and, you know, I figured it out. And that I think was a pivotal point for me, because it's what led me to being the first principal at the firm, and then, you know, growing and progressing my career. And I took on other service lines that we started in privacy. So I wasn't very, you know, well-versed in privacy, but I started up our national privacy practice several years ago, and again, kind of learned that as well. So I think that, you know, it kind of goes towards, you know, wanting to grow yourself, but never saying no, right? Taking advantage of the opportunities, and then building yourself around a good team, hiring those people that can help you and grow as a team together, I think is incredibly important. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about leadership style, but that's a little precursor.
Thank you for that. And Emily, what's your trajectory been like to the top?
So kind of giving a little cliff note background, I'm the only girl, my generation, out of like 30 something boy cousins, nephews, a brother. I've been very fortunate to grow up around awesome guys. I dress very girly, but I'm kind of a tomboy, just given how I was raised. I remember being out of college and being asked an interview question that actually stumped me. And it was, what are you excellent at? At the time, I was like, I'm not excellent at one thing, but I'm really good at a lot of different things. And looking back 10 years later, since I've been in the business development world, I've realized that I'm extremely good at connecting strangers that need to meet, almost matchmaking. And when I learned out of college that sales is literally like dating, it just changes how you work. My sort of like Donna, my background is actually in marketing. I got my start in business development working for CBS Radio. And so I worked for news radio and sports radio. At that time, I learned if I'm going to stand out compared to my other colleagues who were only focusing on what women 25 to 54 want, yeah, I dress girly, but I knew what more men 40 plus wanted to buy and where they worked. And so that really started my relationships with attorneys, wealth managers, banks, you name it, all relationships that are still relevant to where I am today. And my clients that I had on radio, whether you're a Harley Davidson dealership, whether you are an RV park, Nebraska Furniture Mart, all these companies can still and do need accounting services today. And I look back on it, and it really has been a business of relationships, of trust. I find accounting in the finance world, this is going to be a little taboo to say, but I think what we do is rather boring. But when you realize that it's something that everyone needs, not necessarily wants, but you need good accounting relationships for your life. And it is just like a marriage. And you have to do a lot of dating and whining and dining to get that client. But I do think talking about leadership style and just kind of how I work and how my career path happened and why I attribute success is I'm myself. I think most people in sales, especially in accounting and finance world, they don't talk religion, politics, and rock and roll and all those fun things with their clients. But I do think one thing that has led to success is just talking real with my clients. And just, yes, every partner in tax is really smart and they can talk tax. Every audit partner, make sure you aren't in trouble with the IRS. But I think I do a really good job of matching my clients with the right personalities at my firm and just relationships in the community. And that all stems from, it really is just like dating. And I'm not going to put a granola crunchy hippie that is pretty woke with someone who is the complete opposite of them. I recognize if someone is a mother with 3 kids. I recognize if someone went to Texas A&M, if they also lived in England. Those little things that are the things that you remember. They're not going to remember the tax return you did 2 years ago, but they're going to remember if you slipped and fell and spilled your coffee in a meeting. They're going to remember if you both went to the same college. They're going to remember those moments. And I try bringing a more human element into accounting and fun.
Well, you just answered about 3 questions in one there, because we got your leadership style as well, which is great, as well as your career. But let's move on to that for you other 3. We know what Emily's style is of leading. Debbie, how would you describe your style of leadership?
Yeah, I would say that, I kind of alluded to this earlier, is that I really feel as though teamwork matters the most, right? The team makes it. And if we're not developing our team and growing together as a team, then we're really not growing. So I think that it's all about helping those that are younger, have the confidence and give them the confidence that they can learn, give them the support, of course, give them the room to kind of make their own decisions and stuff. I'm not really a micromanager, but definitely, one that's supportive. That, I actually had someone who was interviewing for an IT audit position, and she came from financial accounting background. She was a little leery about, whether to jump into technology because she didn't know technology. She was a little nervous about it. And I said, hey, we'll help train you. Let's just make the leap, right? Essentially, I know you can do it. Audit, technology will come. We've all been there before. You can do it. And now she's doing absolutely fabulous and is one of our managers. So, it just kind of takes someone to coach them, to give them the support, to give them the positivity, and then just to help them along the way within the team environment. And so I think that's hugely important, especially for developing those that are younger than us, coming into this profession and making sure that we keep CPAs in the profession as well.
Very good. And Janet, I've interviewed women leaders that they lead like men. It's very testosterone driven or arrogance driven, if you like, but they felt they had to be strong. And I've talked to other female leaders that are much more feminine in their style and compassionate and empathetic. And we know that both work because we've seen successful firms and companies run by those kind of leaders. What's your style?
No, I don't like to lead like the men. I think I think in the 80s you kind of had to, when you really were on your own. But I think now it's more about encouraging. I think encouraging development within your team is quite important, and showing that they've got a career path and that they're not just sat there and you don't even know what their name is. That I like to be encouraging to make sure that they've got a career path. That I want to put. I think it's leadership is a bit about mindset. If you're passionate about what you do and you're still happy, you're happy in your work, kind of thing, that comes across to your team, and that gives them the encouragement to come on. And I always like to think, and then there's no silly question if somebody wants a change of career or help. I think as a female leader, I think you pick up on when there's something wrong with one of your team a little bit quicker than guys do. Not that the men don't want to see it. It's just that I think because we sort of naturally have that mother innocent, you can kind of, if something's just a little bit off, you just kind of pick that up a little bit quicker. So for me, it's to making sure that, even if it's a problem at home, can we help? What can we do? Do you just need to have the afternoon off to just, go and sit in the spa or go and scream in a field, whatever the heart desires to get you through that next bit. That's more me. I'm more encouraging. I don't want to lead like a dictatorship.
Yeah. And it's interesting you talk about how women are more empathetic without being too stereotypical. That is absolutely true. There's a English comedian called Mickey Flanagan, and he tells this routine about when his wife goes for a girly night, everyone's really interested in what each other are doing, and he goes for a boy night with his friends at the pub, and he'll come back and she wants to quiz him on everything, and she says, well, how's Sue? And he said, well, do you mean John's wife? And he'll say, yeah. And he said, well, I don't know how Sue is. I didn't ask how Sue was. He said, I didn't even ask how John was. And men are not interested in personalities and backgrounds and context, often the way that women are. Donna, talk to us a little bit about your leadership style.
So I like to say that I create environments where people have the opportunity to do extraordinary things. So I build my teams with a diversity of thought and a diversity of skill sets. And, I like to look for what are those things that are different about that person, and then to encourage them. And I think that doesn't have to be just in a department, but just across the firm. What are people really good at? I think, if, and I kind of got this idea from Strength Finders. I don't know if anybody has done that training. And really, it's a really wonderful concept because in Strengths Finders, you concentrate on those things that you're really good at instead of the things that you're really bad at. And so many leaders point out all of the things that are not good. If you can point all of the things that are extraordinary, that are really good, and then say, yes, let's work on these other 3 or 5 things. And I think that most people, and particularly women, that's much more in their wheelhouse of how they want to be directed, how they want to work. And we've talked about teams here. I think that there is nothing more powerful than a team. When everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction, there's nothing more powerful than that. I also think that I encourage people to always think like an owner. I tell them, don't think like an employee, think like an owner. If you were a partner at this firm, how would you want this firm to be represented? How would you want your clients to be talked to? Think like an owner and be strategic in everything you do. I think that so many times people are so hung up in their piece of the pie, right? This is my little piece of what we have to do, and we don't look at it from a holistic or from a global view. And so I really try to bring out the strategist in every person and how your piece has such an impact in the greater good.
That's an excellent point. So many people are head down, tactical, fighting fires, looking after my office, my department, my silo, where the people with more executive presence have a wider strategic outlook and greater perspective. So it's wonderful to point that out. Let's talk about culture. And Emily, I'll come to you first on this one. You've talked about how inclusive things are and how you try to create that environment in your leadership. What works in setting an inclusive culture in your firm?
I think one thing that really has helped me in my career to feel that I am practicing what I preach is I've been very fortunate to work with leadership that has been easy, non-intimidating, and they don't scare me. We're all human. I've been very fortunate to just kind of also fake it till you make it. And even if you are scared, go in with confidence, even if you want to literally scream and cry on the inside. One thing that I try doing in my role being the director of business development is to not come off as intimidating with people lower than that partner and principal level. If I kind of identify that someone has that star quality, the non-worker bee people that can actually get out and talk, I make it a point one-on-one to talk to everybody. I'm in a cube on purpose because I don't want to be behind closed doors. I want people to come to me with ideas. I want them to feel comfortable venting to me. I want to also just get to know everyone because they're the future. And once my current group goes, I got to find the ones that are those rock stars. Should a partner not be available, I want them to know that manager that can talk accounting, but is also really fun. Some people are much more comfortable giving speeches. Some people are much more comfortable in big groups. Some people like the more small one-on-one stuff. You just got to find what works for them, and they're not going to feel comfortable doing business development if they aren't comfortable around me. I think one thing about the profession too that hasn't been mentioned is, as it pertains to women, I think we have that luxury of not having to necessarily clock in at 8 and clock out at 5. As long as you get your hours in and you get the work done, we work in a place where they don't care if you're starting at 10 in the morning, just get it done. And so other people are also more morning houred people. Some people are night owls. I am a morning person, and it's all about just finding what works for my people. And I also don't come off as very stiff and corporate. I am very authentically me, and I think that's actually a blessing that my firm has someone that doesn't come from the accounting profession. You know enough by osmosis. I can tell you that I like S corps more than C corps, and I can tell you that like your audit that's due in June, you don't really have a choice. You're being told by a bank you got to get it done. You got to get it done. I don't know. I just really treat people how I want to be treated, and I have been treated very well by all of my former leaders and people that I've had to report to. Yeah. Partially why I joined this firm is because I loved the guy who is my boss. If you can't beat him, join him. And that's and what I like is that it is not micromanaging. Donna works at a very similar kind of firm like me, where the higher up you go, the bigger the firm. Yes, sexy names on paper, BDO, Grant Thornton, they're all sexy, but there's a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, micromanaging, and stuff that is annoying to deal with. I'm very lucky to be at a firm where I kind of call the shots, and as long as I'm not posting anything inappropriate, they kind of let me do my thing. And I think that comes from leadership that is open, and I try to duplicate that. I will be quiet now. I can keep rambling.
Thank you for that. And Debbie, if we've learned anything from the pandemic, is that one size does not fit all, one size fits one. Talk to us about what makes a good culture of inclusion and diversity in your firm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, I think what makes the culture good and diversity is being intentional, right? So you have to intentionally look for those individuals that can add different thought and have the different backgrounds. So it starts from, campus recruiting. When you're looking for, people straight out of college, it starts at going to different colleges, right? To look at those recruiting efforts. It looks at different suppliers, and are your suppliers, really diverse and coming at you from different angles? Do you have any minority owned or women owned suppliers, et cetera? So, I think it's just really about being intentional. But then when you bring those individuals on board, it's really about now making them feel included, right? It's not just about checking the box and numbers. We really need to make sure that in meetings, for example, you've got maybe 10 people on Zoom calls. And so often on Zoom calls, someone can kind of hide, not go on video, not go on audio, and not really, contribute to the conversation, where it's really up to the leaders to say, hey, Sally or Bill or Joe or whoever is on the call, do you have a thought? I want to hear from you. It's really kind of making sure that, you're really asking everybody on the call to contribute their ideas, because we want everybody to be heard. We want to hear that diverse background. We want to hear, what your thoughts are. So if you're at a meeting and, some of the things you can say is, just getting invited to the meeting. But, when you get invited to the meeting and you're there, we want to hear from you, right? So it's making sure that we actually get that information from the individual and we're including them all along the way.
Yeah, that's great. And Donna, for you, what are you doing to cater for the minorities like me, middle-aged Christian straight white guys? I mean, where do I fit into your firm? Talk to me about that.
So, I'm very lucky to work for a firm that has mission, vision, and core values that we live by. A lot of firms, it's words on a wall, but we were very, very particular in doing this. And every single person in the firm 5 years ago got to participate in this exercise. And so we always say that we have 3 stakeholders, and that's our staff, our clients, and our community. And it's how we hire, it's how we review, it's how we work with our clients, and it gives everybody permission. So like one of them is character, do the right thing always, right? So if someone asks you to do something that you don't want to do, you don't have to. You can see the wall behind me. It's a glass wall. All of our doors are glass and it's open because transparency is another one. So I think that whether you are a male or female at Anders, to be able to live by these core values, to this mission and vision, it is a good path forward that everybody, and it's, that everybody can be a constant. So I think, and I'm going to talk a little bit about white males. I think one of the greatest things that has happened for women, and Janet alluded to this a little bit to help us, is that, when I was coming up, if I left to go to a soccer game at 3 o'clock to watch my son, people would be like, oh, what a mom, right? Well, now the young men in our firm who are senior managers, principals, even young partners, and they have children. And guess what? They need to pick, because their wives have important careers too. They have to pick them up from daycare. They have to get to that game. And it has changed how it is for everyone. So it has made everything more open. And so Emily talked about, what time do you need to get here? And, most of our workforce is hybrid now. That's about 70% of our workforce is hybrid. We have people in other countries, people in other cities. It's made diversity a little bit easier because you can hire remote. They don't have to be here in St. Louis. So I think that the remote part, while it's hard to manage, I think we're all getting much better at it, right? So like we have a poker tournament here this afternoon to benefit our charity of choice, which is Lydia's House, which is a domestic violence shelter. Every year the firm votes on the charity of choice for the year. This year it happens to be my charity, which helps women and children suffering from domestic violence. There's a poker tournament here. We're celebrating kind of the end of the October 15th deadline, the end of the benefit plan craziness. And but we're also making sure that there is a virtual component to that. So I think, one of our core values is welcoming, living a true spirit of family and fun. And now you have to make sure that you can make people feel included, even if they're sitting in wherever they're sitting, wherever their chair happens to be. So I think that it has evened the playing field. To Emily's point, a lot of people are doing remarkable things remotely that they were afraid to do in person. So, we're kind of looking for the good in what this situation has created and the opportunities that it's put forward, while also understanding there's many challenges that we're still all facing.
Sure, indeed. And Janet, we can't ignore what Donna's saying there about the hybrid world. You're international with the IAB there. It is more difficult to drive culture and values when everybody's all over the place.
Well, I'm quite lucky because all my team are actually in the UK.
Okay.
So we have agents in sort of like the Far East, India, Middle East, and they're great because they come over at least once a year, and that they all come, they see all the staff, they love coming to the office, and it's almost like I have to rein them all back in a minute because it ends up like being a party because everyone's excited to see everybody so much. So but that's lovely, and because they have a lot of contact with the team sort of every week, we get that culture, and it's nice to see that the team in the UK are actually understanding the cultural differences and how messages we put out, how they have to be sort of tailored to slightly changed for different parts of the world. So it's nice to see that they get it, and they love it when, and we're going, oh, it's Diwali this week, so they've all been sending like messages who celebrate that, but we kind of get them whatever everything's celebrating all around the world, we end up putting something out because we're quite a small team compared to you guys. You're all in great big corporates. We're actually quite tiny compared, and a small team, but our members are like part of our group. So we've got thousands of members who are like wanting to contact with us. So during the pandemic, actually that accelerated us into a more technical world, and we started bringing all our members to help them because you probably heard about the furlough scheme in the UK, which like seemed to change every day. You'd only just got the words out of your mouth to help your members, and the government had changed it. A bit like we've got the revolving door at number 10 at the moment. Yes, it's on.
Donald Trump's available to
no,
be
we
Prime
haven't.
Minister.
Yes, we have. So we're going round in circles. So as a membership body who we supervise our members for anti-money laundering and things like this, sanctions for different countries, we need to make sure that they get that message, help them, support them. So getting that out there, and it's nice to see that a lot of our members are from lots of different cultures and lots of different backgrounds, and that helps our team to think outside the box. Just don't think about where you are in our office. You need to think outside the box and think differently.
Sure.
And I like different age groups as well, because I always find that you've got all the different age groups, you get such a really more rounded, more stuff comes out when you start talking, because you might say, oh, why can't we do this? Or they'll go, why can't we put it on YouTube or TikTok or something? I'm like, okay, then down to you, because I haven't a clue on how to use that.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you, Janet. Let's go to closing remarks, and can I ask you, I'll start with you, Donna, on this one, just to leave the audience with some words of inspiration on 1 or 2, 3 quick career tips that you would advise them from what you've learned throughout your career. Donna.
Okay, so these are just things that I live by. I always say, anticipate what's next and embrace the new. Build critical relationships with influencers inside and outside your firm. I think that has been the key to my success.
That's the network, isn't it?
It is. Seek out others that are hungry. Think like a business owner. I said that before, but I think that everybody has to do that. Be the vision. Remember that you didn't get here alone, and be grateful. I think that that's key. And when I address a group of marketers, I would tell them, don't be the marketer, be the change. And I think you can take the word marketer out, and you could put accountant, you could put cybersecurity specialist, you could put whatever, take marketer out, insert new word. And I think that you have to be the change. You can't just talk about it. You have to really just amplify the change. And if there's something that you want to do or something that you don't like, then you have to put yourself in that position. You can't wait to be asked. You have to be the change.
Yeah, that's very good. And you remind me of a quote by a spiritual expert in the US called Martin Rutter. He said, you've got to do it by yourself, but you can't do it alone.
That's perfect.
And all of us, we have examples of big decisions we need to make on our own, and having the hands on the steering wheel of our own career, but none of us have got there by ourselves. So I love that. Let's go to you, Debbie, on this one. Career tips for our audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to Donna, but essentially I always tell people, don't let the job description deter you from getting the job, right? So and women are, I think someone was mentioned in the beginning that women are very much kind of in that group that we're going to look at something and say, oh, it's not my skill set, or I can't do that, or I can't do that.
And men just go for it, don't they, Debbie? Sometimes they think, oh, I can do that.
Exactly. And that's what we need to do. Everybody needs to do that. If you want that job, you go for it. You know that you can do it, and don't let that job description deter you from doing it. So take advantage of the opportunities, because you have to set your own path. But having the support group is incredibly helpful, right? So it's the support group that you can call and say, hey, should I take this job? What do you think I should say? What are some questions? Just kind of getting that support group that's, those people that are going to build you up to your dream and not trying to tear you down. So make sure you pick the right support group.
Mm-hmm. And in that support group, there could be men and women, can't there, in that one? It's not just getting sisters helping each other out.
100%. I have had men support me throughout my career. So, and all ethnic backgrounds and everybody. So it really is just a matter of picking the right person, not the type of person.
Yeah, that's very good. I've heard the term a trusted board of advisors, those people that you can lean into and ask personal questions. Probably some of them are down the road from where you are, maybe mentors and coaches, but it's saying, what would you do if you were me? That kind of question. And some of these are champions and advocates that will usher you into the boardrooms and into the corridors and doors of influential people that you perhaps wouldn't get there by yourself. That's what you're talking about, Debbie, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. But also not being afraid to do it. You may not feel as though you have the confidence, but show the confidence. Go in there and know you can do it, because you can.
Yeah. Janet, when you were 16, you probably didn't see yourself where you are right now, but you've made it and you've arrived. What career tips can you share with us that you've got along the way?
I think don't be afraid to take those opportunities. Pretty much like the ladies have said, if that opportunity comes around, don't think you can't do it. You can. Just have faith in yourself. And I think it's about building your own confidence and embrace change. Change is not a bad thing. The world moves and changes all the time, and you have to embrace that change and to be able to look forward. As a leader, you need to see the greater, bigger picture and look ahead, not just in the here and now.
Mm.
Give
and
yourself
as Donna said, try
that.
and be the change instead
Absolutely.
of just, yeah.
See what's coming, and I think for people coming up, and you go through levels of starting off at the bottom, and then you become a manager and things like that. Don't be frightened to put your thoughts forward. I think it's all about confidence and self-belief. That I think that's really important. Believe in yourself, because you can do it.
Yeah, that's great. And if you didn't know, confidence, the word comes from the Latin confidence, with faith. And that speaks to your belief in yourself. Thank you for that, Jenna. And we'll leave the last word to Emily, who's a little bit shy and not very outspoken. So if you could just, of course, I'm joking, but what career tips have you got for our watchers and listeners, Emily, as we finish off?
I would say my career tips that I tell people, and just it works for me, is you can only control what you control. You cannot control what you cannot control. I cannot control that there's a global pandemic, race riots, potential nuclear war going on, all those things. I can control my mind.
That doesn't stop people worrying about that kind of thing, does it, Emily?
We are essential in business. And so I can control my mindset, my activity, how I take care of myself. And that's really all you can do. I tried, and I call that the career advice of not stress about the uncontrollables. I also tell people, make new friends, but keep the old. I have to meet hundreds of people in all these different professions. I have people that are truly like my go-tos, but you just never know when you're going to meet someone that is so delightful and awesome. And so always make new friends, but keep the old. And I would also say, it kind of goes back to confidence. Confidence is contagious. What we all women, and maybe you, Rob, we all have those days where it's like, I feel a little pudgy. I'm not feeling that pretty. We all feel that way. And so my mom used to always tell me, no one likes a wet blanket. And so in business, I try not to burden people with problems. Even if I slept terribly, my dog was sick, and I have a really mean client, I really don't try to bring that into work.
Nobody wants to come to your pity party, do they, Emily?
No, but and if you're contagious, it really does spew across other people and other departments. And I don't know, you got to laugh a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much to all of you. It's been a wonderful, rich conversation and lots of practical examples and real life journeys that can inspire the women leaders watching and listening, and even the men. And let's put all the other genders in between, the way the crazy world is going right now, because we're so representative. But it's great that we're talking about this stuff. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights today. That's been world class.